Hey guys, so guess what today is? Okay, it's almost 6 o'clock. I actually woke up on and off around like 2:30. Then I woke up at like 3, close to 4. Then I woke up to 4, close to 5. And I was like, you know what, Lord, you're trying to get me to say something. You're trying to get me to get prepared to make Testimony Tuesday videos. So here I am. Those who are just now watching, yeah, I am kind of in my pajamas and my scarf, so because it's early. But Testimony Tuesdays are a day which, wait, is today Tuesday still? Well, wait, what's today's Wednesday? I don't know. What's today? Anyways, but Tuesdays are a day that I like to reflect on growth. I like to look back on things that I used to do, ways that I used to think of, habits that I used to have that maybe I don't have anymore. So I just like to reflect. So today's a day to reflect. So let's reflect. As I woke up this morning around like 5:30, which actually no, I woke up at 4:30, and I was led to read the book of James. The book of James just fairly broke down why it's important to make sure that whatever we say, we have to make sure that our actions lined up to what we say. We got to make sure that if we have faith, we got to walk by it and not just always dwell and pay attention to what coulda, shoulda, woulda. We just, we got to trust and believe that, if God's brought us out of certain things before, he will do it again. And, I also read how just endurance, like, certain tests and certain situations that we experience, it's not even for us. It's something that we have to go through. It's something that we have to experience just so that we can know, because when you know better, you do better. So, when you go through certain things and you learn from them, so that the next time that certain situation may not be the same exact thing, it may not be identical, but when that same situation comes about, comes around, you will have better understanding, you'll have better knowledge, you'll have better reasonings as to why you do things or why you don't do things. So, certain tests and things that come our way, it's building our endurance, it's building our confidence. So, I was just led to read the book of James, because also today's Bible verse of the day is, I'm gonna have to look that up. Okay, so today's Bible verse is coming from James 5:16, and it talks about how we should all confess our sins to one another in hopes to be healed. So I believe it says a little bit more than that, but I don't have my Bible in front of me. I just had to flick the screen and just look at my Bible app. But when I woke up this morning, that's kind of like the first thing that gets me in the mood of prayer, that gets me in the mood of wanting to, I'm sorry, I'm trying to focus this. I have like this new little thing. But it just gets me in the mood. It gets me in the motions to pray and, ask God for direction as to what I'm needing to do. So when I read that verse, I was just, I was like, wait, I kind of want to read more. So, I just flipped back from the beginning, because I believe James has like 5 or 6 chapters. But I read the whole thing this morning because, it was just something was wrestling around in my spirit to talk about what I'm about to talk about right now. Because it makes me feel this way. This is probably, definitely what I'm supposed to reflect on today. So yeah. But anyways, okay, so, Testimony Tuesdays, I like to reflect on past situations. So a past situation that I would like to reflect on today is unforgiveness. Unforgiveness and not being remorseful. I think I'm saying the right thing. Because what I'm trying to say is that I remember back then, I used to be the type of person that would say, like, anything that I thought of. Like, if I saw somebody walk past and, I don't know, maybe they had something that I didn't. Maybe they didn't have something that I had. And as soon as I thought something like, ooh, like, she thinks she cute. Or, ooh, look at what she got on. Or, ooh, her outfit's cute. But then it's like those thoughts, like as soon as I thought something, I would say it in such a way that was just like, who do you think you are to judge somebody? Like, I just remember back then, I just didn't have no filter. I didn't have no filter, but yet it's like it's like I knew of God, but I just didn't know him. Because when you know God, it's not even the fact of, God's our savior, God loves us despite of what we do. And yeah, that may be true. But just because God accepts and loves us for how we are, it doesn't mean for us to stay the same. It doesn't mean for us to keep thinking the same ways that we do. It's not meant for us to keep the same habits that we have. It's not meant to us to keep on putting our mouth on people when they situation, or even what they were, what they talk, or how they talk, or what their situations are. It's not meant for us to drag other people down in the dirt when we have our own dirt that other people can drag us for too. So it's like, I used to be that type of person. I used to be the type of person that just did not have a filter, just did not care about other people's feelings. And it's not even the fact that I didn't care. It's the fact that I didn't feel. It's like that feeling of guilt. I never had that feeling of guilt. It's like, I would say things, I would do things because that's how I felt. And that's the thing. Like, I used to always think about myself. I never really put myself to the side to put myself in somebody else's shoes. So it's like, if I felt like somebody was doing something that I wouldn't do, or somebody was doing something that would tick me off, I would quickly react like, oh, why they doing that? Or, you stupid, you this, you that. But then I'm like, I don't know what that person's going through. Maybe they weren't that because their paycheck was short. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they doing that because, they're going through an abusive relationship and they don't know how to love themselves. So they try to, sleep with this person and be with this person because they've gotten so hurt in their past to where, the only love that they can get is from relationships. Or, you never know what somebody's going through as to why they look on the outside. And so a person's outer appearance does not give us, or not even a person's outer appearance, a person's activity and their behavior does not give us an excuse, does not give us a free pass to talk about that person. And that's the exact type of person I used to be. Like, I used to just, like, first impressions. Like, as soon as somebody does something, as soon as somebody looks a certain way, that was just an opportunity for me to just, oh, look at you. Oh. Like, I used to just talk, and kind of somewhat of run my mouth. But sometimes I felt like in the past, sometimes when I would run my mouth, in my head, I'm just like, oh, you mad because I'm speaking the truth. You mad? No. That's not no truth. That's jealousy. That's envy. That's bitterness. That's hate. That's an unforgiving heart, because majority of times when I would talk about certain people, it didn't even have to be somebody that I did not know. It was mainly people that I already knew and I've already experienced an encounterment with that person. And majority of times it wasn't a good encounterment, especially like if it was like an old friend that I used to be friends with. I was so quick to talk about her, or I was so quick to talk about somebody I used to date, or whatever it may be. I was just so quick every time that I thought about something, like especially if somebody hurt me. I would always tell people in my past, this is how I used to be. I was a very spiteful person. If you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you back 10 times worse. But then now today, now that I look back at that, who was I to make that decision to pay anybody back, And that comes to show as well. I know that I'm not the only person that, maybe there's some people that still do this, but, I just want people to be aware that, when you don't have a filter, when you don't have a heart to love and to care for others, when you come down in a situation where you need encouragement, where you need somebody to pray for you, when you need somebody to even compliment you or something, if you're not giving that love back, what makes you think you're gonna get it in return? What makes you think that, if you're not being kind to people and being generous to people, what makes you think that God's going to bless you or be generous to you to allow other people to give that type of love to you when you're not even, how can God allow you to receive something that you're not given? And that all comes down to unforgiveness, selfishness, and I was just ruffling around with talking about this because, this is an everyday battle. This is an everyday battle, not only for me, but I know it's a battle for everybody else because, we are all, I believe that we are all natural. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I believe that we all naturally want to make sure that we are good. Of course, we want to protect our hearts, we want to protect our minds, we want to protect our environments. So it's like, if there's things around us that, that we can't control, it's going to be something in us that's going to try to manipulate the situation. Like, just say that we're in a relationship and that person that we're dating does something that, just say that person does something that we didn't anticipate for them to do, or they do something to hurt us. Of course, in our minds, we just like, dang, how you gonna do that? Why would you do that to me? And woo. But then again, it's like, you don't understand, maybe it wasn't the actions of that person. Maybe you have to look at yourself in the mirror as to why that person or whatever relationship, friend, family member, or whoever, you have to evaluate yourself. You have to evaluate your actions, because whatever that person does, sometimes, there are people that intentionally mean to hurt you or intentionally mean to do things to break you. But then again, you also have to think, what have I done? What have I not done? What am I doing to receive this type of behavior? Because, of course, if somebody ups and cheats on you and stuff, that's their decision. That's a choice. That's not something that somebody has to do. That's something that, I believe that when it comes to cheating, or actually, I don't even want to talk about that. I don't want to, because that's a very broad topic to talk about. But it's just, there are certain actions that we do that we don't realize how it may harm the next person. But there's some behaviors that we do because we haven't reevaluated ourselves. We haven't come to the senses of who we are in order for us to fight temptation or fight against things that are bound to trap us, if that makes sense. But yeah, anyways, you know, in the past, I just was a non-remorseful person. Like, I didn't feel any type of way. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to say sorry. I didn't feel like I needed to be nice to people at times when I was angry. Because when I was mad, oh, somebody gonna feel my anger. Somebody gonna be mad with me. And that's just how I was. But today, I would say I am very, very mindful and very intentional when it comes to the things that I say. I mean, of course, the things that we think, it may be a little different from what we say, but at the same time, you know, if we tend to say positive things, if we tend to do positive things, then of course we will tend to have positive thoughts, because your thoughts, you know, whatever you think resonates to whatever you do. It all correlates, it all connects. So if you think positive and you do positive, that's awesome. But if you think negative, and then of course once you think negative, it's going to it's basically going to provoke you to do negative. So if you think it, you're going to do it. And so, you know, you have to condition. It's a new way of conditioning, and it's a new way of thinking. And it's like, you know, I've learned that it's not all about me. It's not all about my feelings, because if I got feelings, I know he, she, them, they got feelings, you know? So it's like, you know, if it's something that's bothering me, if it's something that somebody else is doing, it's not up to me to judge them or talk about them. You know, of course, I need to pray for them, but then, you know, I now position myself to get in a place to where, you know, if I see somebody else struggling, if I see somebody else that needs help, you know, the old me would have talked bad about you because, you know, you looking like you're not doing nothing. But, you know, you never know what somebody's going through. So now I'm able to position myself in such a way that, you know, let me put my issues on the back burner. Let me put my thoughts on the side, and let me see what you need help with. So, you know, how I used to be was just so selfish. Now that I've become so selfless, you know, it's like I care about people more than I care about myself, which it shouldn't be more, it should be equal. Because if you love yourself, you should love, well, of course, if you love yourself, you should love others the way that you love yourself. So, you know, if others don't treat you at a certain level that you treat them, you also have to think, you know, maybe they don't love themselves. Maybe they don't know how to love themselves. Maybe they don't appreciate life. Maybe they don't, I don't know. I don't know what all to say, but of course, you know, the saying's true. You know, treat others the way that you want to be treated. So you can't treat others the way that you should be treated if you're not treating yourself that first. Now that I'm able to see and recognize, you know, it's not all about, you know, what somebody looks like, what somebody makes themselves seem as when they're around other people. Because you can't really, I mean, there are some people that are good cover-ups. There are people that are good at, I don't want to say hypocritical, because I mean, that is that's a strong judgment against somebody. Because, you know, of course, you know, being a hypocrite, you know, you may say one thing but do another. You may do another but say another thing, or whatever it may be. So I don't really, it's not my position to call somebody a hypocrite. But at the same time, you know, I'm thankful that I'm able to recognize that type of activity, and it makes me stay away from that type of energy. I'm not gonna say it makes me stay away from them type of people. It makes me stay away from the energy, because it don't matter who you are. if that type of activity, that hypocritical activity is happening, I am intentionally going to stay away because, I don't want to put myself in a situation how it was in my past. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm entitled to negatively talk about somebody. I'm going to try to help you. I'm going to try to look, I see you doing this, maybe you need to do this, or maybe you shouldn't do that because, you see how this had done you before, maybe you should just, I'm just that type of friend. I'm that type of person. And, I am, once I say something, I might say something once, twice, 3 times, maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 10 times. But there does come a point in time to where, when you find yourself having to continue to repeat yourself, or when you have to continue to tell others, like, look, this is not what I appreciate. This is not how I'm going to be treated. This is not how I am going to be, whatever. If you find yourself having to say these type of things to certain individuals or certain, whatever it may be, sometimes you have to remove yourself from that situation or that type of environment because, you want to protect your energy. You want to protect your spirit because, we're not fighting against flesh and blood. We're not fighting against flesh and blood. This is all spiritual. And so just because somebody may do some certain thing, just because somebody may do a certain thing, because somebody may look a certain way, we don't know what their motives are. Only God does, because our motives are what's in our heart. So, just because somebody may look a certain way doesn't mean that their heart isn't pure. And just because somebody may look pure on the outside doesn't mean that their heart isn't darkened. We don't know. We look at what we see, but we have to evaluate ourselves, not even evaluate other people. Stop worrying about what somebody is doing. Stop worrying about what somebody looks like. Stop worrying about how somebody else's attitude is. When that person has that type of attitude, especially around you, are you going to match that type of attitude? Or are you going to change that environment? Like if somebody's complaining, are you going to go in and say, hey, girl, I feel you. I don't like him either. I don't like her either. No, just say, that's not my business. They going through things. We going through things too. It's not my place to put my mouth on them. It's not my place to talk about them. Like, are you going to be that type of person to change the environment? Because I know that that's how I am now. It took me a long time to learn that, because I used to be that type of person that just always had something to say. Now, maybe sometimes now I still got something to say, but my something to say is something that is worth learning from, because I know that, maybe I'm using excuses. But at the same time, when I'm doing this, it's the fact that I always had something to say that was negative about somebody. I had something negative to say about what somebody was doing, what somebody wasn't doing. I just always had something negative to say that was going to attack somebody's character. But then I didn't realize that when I looked in the mirror, my character was also something to talk about too. I just wanted to share that because, I've already had, I've had some experiences this week, and it just really, really, really spiced this up to talk about this topic, just about forgiveness and just being remorseful. Like I said, I think that's the right word, like being forgiving, and of course, remorseful to us, that's a worldly word, but that's kind of correlates to having mercy. God's merciful towards us, especially when it comes to us waking up each day, despite of what we've thought about, despite of what we've done yesterday in our past, God still graces us, and he still has mercy over our souls to just try things over, and just, with that same love and that same mercy that God gives every last one of us, the same mercy and forgiveness and the same love and care that we have to give to others, despite of how they treat us, despite of what they may look like, despite of the hurt that they've caused us to go through. And a lot of times it's not even about what somebody else does. I mean, because a lot of things that somebody does, it may trigger something in you to do the same thing. But when you don't do the same thing, that's the beginning of growth. And I just want to encourage everybody, just because somebody may look different, just because somebody may do something differently than you, and just because somebody may have certain conversations that maybe you don't have. I mean, you have to protect your energy. You have to protect your environment. You have to protect your heart. You have to guard your heart. You have to guard your mind as well. So, I mean, if you're around people, if you're around things that is going to make you slip, or it's going to make you do things that that you don't want to do, or say things that you don't want to say, sometimes you have to not necessarily remove that person. Sometimes you got to remove yourself from that situation, from that environment. And and it's not meant for us to bash somebody from the mistakes that they've done. It's not meant for us to bash somebody because they choose to look this way or do this thing and you don't. I mean, it's not meant for us to do that. And of course, if you treat yourself good, I mean, don't you know that other people deserve that same goodness too? Yeah. It was something that I definitely had to learn, because I was a very stubborn person. I was very just so self-centered. I always thought about myself, and I did things that only benefited myself. But now that I know, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about us. It's about everybody. It's about coming together. It's about loving each other. It's about helping each other. It's about encouraging each other to make it to the prize, to get to where we all need to go. Because here, it's not it. It's not it.